What do you think the number one reason people go see their doctor for is? Stay healthy? It happens as you get older. You know, you can get so old you can go blonde. What do you think the number one reason people go see the doctor is? Hypochondriac. What is it? Pain pills. You'd have some people believe it. They're fatigued and they don't feel good. Stay healthy, I wish. Yeah. Number one reason is people say, I'm just tired, don't feel good. I'm tired. Number one reason. I almost died because I went to the doctor and I said, I'm tired. He said, yeah, me too. And what happened was my esophagus was being eaten by my stomach acids, and it ate right into, right through everything, and was starting to eat that big blood vessel that comes down to your stomach. And I was flying at the time, and they suggested I stop that. And because I was in the emergency room, and the doctor says, we have all of your records here on file. When you hit the door, your file is right there. We will know what to do. And because you're about to eat into that blood vessel, and you do a rapid blood dump of all the blood in your body, and if we don't get on it quick, you will die. And then he said, how far away from here do you live? And I said, about 30, 35 minutes. And he said, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Thank you. Why did that go on and on? Everybody's tired. You go to the doctor, you say you're tired. That's not a symptom. That's a fact of our culture. Are you with me? And so, is that the way God created us to live? And once again this morning, we're going to talk about the fact that whether it's finances, marriage, relationships, the closer you follow this culture, the more difficult life is. The closer you follow Jesus Christ, the better life becomes. Now, in this one area of tiredness, God has something to say to us. Here is what life with Christ is supposed to look like. Of course, it's from the Old Testament, but it applies. Young men will grow weary and tired. Young men will stumble and fail. But those whose hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and shall not faint. Again, the closer you walk to Jesus Christ, the better life becomes. The more of this culture you adapt, the more stress you will experience. And we've talked about before, in the finances, the closer you were to this culture's finances, the harder this recession just was in your life. But if you'd followed Jesus Christ, this was the greatest opportunity to pick up wealth. $1 million homes were selling for $300,000. And if you've been following what we teach from Scriptures, 10:10:80, you would have taken advantage of the buying opportunity, the ability to build wealth, like no other opportunity you may have in the rest of your life. It is always better to follow the owner's manual written by your Creator and do it that way than it is to follow the culture in which we live in. So the question this morning is, this area of our health and our rest and our energy was so important, he put it into the Big Ten. Thou shalt rest. And here we're going to look at what is so important to God that we obey this piece of teaching. Now, the problem with us in believers is, in fact, when we went to have prayer, beforehand, one of the person on the team was saying, yeah, we're talking about scheduling quiet time and all the rest of the stuff, and then you mentioned salt meeting after church, and I have to get a meal ready, I have to get my daughter ready, get her dresses, get her shoes, and she lists off this litany of things. What is it? Us who follow Jesus Christ have our calendar full of good things, right? We're not doing anything bad, much. Our calendar is full of good things. If it wasn't, we'd just stop it. So what is it that God is saying to us about filling up our calendar? The problem is that if we rest, we have so thoroughly assimilated this hurry culture in which we live in, you almost feel guilty. You almost feel like you're failing. You almost feel like you're not productive. We in this culture are taught not to be human beings, but to be human doings. And in fact, there's a phrase that we use that in the native culture doesn't even exist. What do we say about if you're not productive? Each unit of time has to produce so much productivity, or you are wasting your... In the native culture, they say, how can you waste your time? You are. You are. You're just there. And this whole concept that we bring with us, and the fact that we never shut down and just be, just exist, is destroying God's marvelous creation, your body. It just, we've been doing some stuff on my sleep, and as a result, I haven't been doing any of that. So when they said David's going to speak on rest, it brought out a bunch of laughter. Why? Because I have a sleep disorder, and for nearly 20 years, I existed on 2 to 3 hours sleep, and so we're still trying to get me sleeping. I did 6 sleep labs. I still don't have. I just started to have stage 3 sleep, and things are coming back. But rest, I have lived my life in mind-numbing fatigue. And so who is it who's going to talk to you about rest? That's like the local atheist writes the religious paid column in the newspaper. But how do we experience rest God's way? Now, there's an interesting verse. We've been talking about Elisha and the Shunammite woman. And in there, if you want to take your inserts out, there's a very interesting verse. And I got thinking, now why would God stick that in the Bible? This is the infallible, accurate Word of God, and they stick this verse in there one day. Read it so loud that you wake up the person next to you. Actually, we're speaking on rest. We won't be passing out pillows and blankets for the service, but just hang in there and we'll talk about rest, all right? Read it with me. One day, when Elisha came, he went up to his room and lay down there. What? You stuck that in the Bible? It's supposed to be an owner's manual teaching how to live. The holy man of God took a nap, and you stuck that in the Bible? Well, I think that's not a surprise to some people. They know that holy men of God sleep all the time and work an hour on Sunday. That's just the way it is. But why would they stick that in the Bible? I think that God, when He made creation, created us after His image, and He created us to need rest. Why did He not just wind us up? He could have done it. Wind us up so that we can run 24/7 and don't have to waste all this time in bed. Talk about being productive. Just make a few changes to the DNA here and fire us up so we can run 24/7. Well, we find that God knew what He was doing. He said, let's make mankind in our image, our likeness, so they can rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock and wild animals, and all the creatures that live on the ground. And Paul picks that up later in Corinthians when he's writing his letter to the Corinthians. We're Christ's ambassadors. As God, we're making His appeal through us on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. We're created in the image of God, come back to God. So the image of God, what did God do after He created everything? He says, not bad. He created man. He says, I can do better. He created woman. Then what did He do? Took a nap. Took a nap. God rested. God created us to be designed so that we don't function well without a rest. And to stick in the middle there, the holy man took a nap. Took a nap. Naps are not celebrated. In fact, I was watching an article in France. They're trying to get them to nap again, so they've got a best napper contest on right now. They believe it's something that needs to be returned to their culture. In our culture, it's not revered, it's looked down on. And if you are going to stay rested and refreshed, you have to be disciplined, scheduled, and rest. Otherwise, your calendar just overtakes your life. If you don't have a plan for your life, everybody else does. Okay? It will overtake you, but you are a valuable child of God with God's plans for your life. And therefore, you have to stay in charge of your schedule, or you will have lived your whole life responding to the tyranny of the urgent and not having time to do God's most important. Let's look at what that may look like. So first of all, if we're going to reprogram our minds so that we live this rested life, we have to acknowledge God's design. We have to acknowledge that God designed us to live in a certain way. And here it's important that we do that. I'm going to swallow a live goldfish. Now, what's the problem with that? This fish was not designed for this environment. Relax, it'll live a couple hours this way. If it doesn't, we can fry it up, okay? Do you feel the stress of this fish out of this environment? I know, I've lost you. Put him back in the water. Put him back in the water. You're stressing me. Got your point. Why is it that we can live 60, 70 years in a foreign, damaging, deadly environment of rush and not know enough to put the fish back in the water? What is wrong with that picture? Yeah, he's still doing good. Free Willy. He likes the net so much he won't swim out of it. We experience that stress and worse because we don't stay within our design limits. Are you with me? You were designed to shut down at least once a week. You were designed to talk to God. And you say, how are we doing? We always give the cultural answer. I'm busy. I've got this, blah, 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 blah. And you don't ever say, I had a great, quiet conversation with God this morning with no interruptions. I just sat and talked to him for an hour. You were created to talk to God every day. And when you don't, you're out of your environment, and it stresses you. Eventually, they say up to 12 hours, I don't know, it would kill that fish. I don't really know how long they can live out of there, because you wouldn't let me try it. But eventually, it's so stressful, the fish will die. How are we doing here? You have to acknowledge you were created a certain way. So first, if we're going to learn to live the life, have we got Andy Rooney's picture up there? All the old people over 30 will know who this guy is. My age. This is Andy Rooney. Who is he? You guys know him? Oh, yeah. 2020. He used to do the journaling. Usually end up the show. He worked till he was 93. And then when he quit, he died. So the answer, don't ever quit working, you're going to die, okay? What was the deal? They said to him in his 60s, how do you maintain the pace? Are you not getting tired? He said, when I was in my 30s and 40s, I was exhausted all the time. Then I decided to look after my body, and I've never really been tired much since. He was saying he had more energy in his 60s because he obeyed his design limits than he did in his 40s because he ignored them. Do you want to wake up refreshed every morning, rise up as if you're on the wings of an eagle, run and not be weary, walk and not grow tired? Then we must stay within our design limits. That's the first thing we have to do. The second thing is we need to follow God's example. Now, that would be a good thing. We've talked about he created us, and then he rested. Another thing that God did is he made cycles. The day is one 24-hour spin of the earth. The month is the lunar cycle, roughly. A year is the cycle of the earth. Where is the cycle for a week? He gave it to you. He said, at the beginning of the week, start with a rest. Sunday's the first day of the week. Start with a Sabbath. Start with a refreshing. Start with a rest from last week before you start Monday, a new week. He has said, live the rhythms of life. Listen to this. This is what your heart wants to hear. Are you tired and worn out, burned out on religion? And you know, we don't do religion here. We do a relationship with God. And I've developed an allergic reaction to religion. But Jesus says, come on, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. Did you ever feel your life is out of control? Get with Jesus. Recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unhurried rhythms of grace. When people watch us walk through our life, their heart should say, I need to live at the pace of Jesus and his kids and his brothers and sisters. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Now that is a life you can have fun with, isn't it? The unhurried rhythms of grace. I've gotten better lately, but how many of you guys find yourself driving quickly even when you're not in a hurry? Or how many try to kill their boss with a half-ton truck? How many do that kind of stuff? Why? We're wound up because we are assimilating the values of this culture, and we are not enjoying the wonderful experience of living the unhurried rhythms of the grace of Jesus Christ. It's so unnatural. Acknowledge that you were designed by God. Understand the rhythms of God's thing. Take a Sabbath. And thirdly, when we acknowledge God's design and commit to following his example, we can experience God's blessing. Saddleback, Rick Warren's devotional this morning, talks about God's in charge. You need to just relax. And the illustration was Jesus was in a storm that was life-threatening. The boat was being swamped, and what was he doing? He was sleeping. I got to rest here, guys. What's in your life that's so bad that God can't handle it? What's in your life that's so bad that you can't relax and trust God? Have you got anything that big? What is it in Job? Is there anything not possible for God? The answer is no. What is it that is so big it's keeping you awake? The storm didn't even keep Jesus awake, and the disciples are using colorful language, speaking to the sails, tripping over each other, yelling and screaming. The water's coming in. They can't bail. They're going to die. And Jesus trusted his Father and said, my body needs a rest here. I think I'll give it to it. If you go back in your mind this morning, there is nothing God can't handle. There's nothing in your life that God cannot handle. Now let me ask you this question. If each of us, I'm asking all of us individually, if we live next year the way we lived this year, where we experience what God has promised us, the unhurried rhythms of grace, running and not being weary, running and not being tired, walking and not being weary, rising up with vision as if we're on the wings of an eagle, soaring, talking to God. If we do over the next 12 months what we did the last 12 months, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. But Jesus said, come to me and I will give you rest. This is a different translation, same thing. All of you who work so hard beneath a heavy load, wear my yoke. This is what it says to me. If we're pulling a heavy load, if we're going down under the weight of it, we've got somebody's load on that Jesus didn't put there. We need to stop, evaluate, walk this out with God. Who stuck all this stuff on my wagon? And then you need to go back and talk to Jesus and start lightening your load. My yoke is easy, my burden's light. Come to me. So wherever you've been going, we need to go to Jesus. He said, if you will keep, Isaiah, if you will keep your mind on me, I will keep you in perfect peace. That turmoil is caused by hauling a load not put there by Jesus and watching something who is not God. Tonight is, or right after second service is salt. Linda reads me stuff that she thinks I need to know. If it's women's stuff that I got to know about women and I'm misbehaving myself, she would say, this author says, it's not her, of course, saying this to me, it's, this author says that this is the way you have to treat your wife. So that kind of stuff, ladies, just a hint. But the other thing that she's been reading with me is things that her devotional and stuff. And she comes out, I have an office at home, she comes out into my office and sits down on the sofa and she says, can I read you something? And I say, can I stop you? I ask her to just pick something. I want you to hear what I've been hearing for the last year or so. And I bought a leather-bound, Linda and I bought leather-bound copies for each family that comes to Salt this afternoon. I'd just like to give it to you for coming. You guys work so hard. And we have up to 200 volunteers and 3 pastors. So guess who does most of the work in this church? It's you. Guess who the church is? It's you. Guess who is praying to God? It's you. We are just part of a huge number of volunteers, and I need to just say thank you. So we bought this leather-bound edition, but I want you to hear this. And how does your soul feel? Linda, could you read us just one devotion? Did you pick one out? At least one.
They say opposites attract, and can I say this?
No.
I tell everybody, he told you about his sleep issues. I just look at my bed and fall asleep. So, and I have to sit down. When I wear heels, I have to sit down and rest my feet. So, this is the most favorite book of mine, and I had heard of this author before, and I'm going, what is this all about? And one year, a few years ago, we were at Women of Faith, and at one of the booths, I saw this, Jesus Calling. And you're probably all familiar with it, and I thought, I'm buying that. And I don't know if I bought it or my dearest friend bought it for me. I can't even remember now, but it is my favorite book. And the reason is the way that it's worded is, and you'll find out in a second because I'm going to read one to you, is Jesus is talking to you. And I mean, and every day is another one, and it's like he's speaking right to me. And they're dead on. It's right what I need for that day. So I'm sorry, David, but they're short, and I had to, it goes along with the message. And
What a surprise. You didn't do it. Okay. Yeah.
So, let me just find one here.
Do you see where this "can I stop you" comes in?
Sorry, but no, I think the Lord wants me to read too. Okay, they're short. But you'll get what I'm talking about, and they're amazing. Come to me and rest. I'm all around you to bless and restore. Breathe me in with each breath. The way just ahead of you is very steep. Slow down and cling tightly to my hand. I'm teaching you a difficult lesson learned only by hardship. Lift up empty hands of faith to receive my precious presence. Light, life, joy, and peace flow freely through this gift. When your focus turns away from me, you grasp for other things. You drop the glowing gift of my presence as you reach for lifeless ashes. Return to me, regain my presence. See what I mean? It's like Jesus is like right there talking to me, like over my shoulder or in my ear. It's like, Linda, you know? So that was one, and then because we're on the topic of rest, and it just seemed like this was going along with it. I just love these. Come to me for rest and refreshment. The journey has been too much for you, and you are bone weary. Do not be ashamed of your exhaustion. Instead, see it as an opportunity for me to take charge of your life. Remember that I can fit everything into a pattern for good, including the things you wish were different. Start with where you are at this point in time and space, accepting that this is where I intend you to be. You will get through today one step, one moment at a time. Your main responsibility is to remain attentive to me, letting me guide you through the many choices along your pathway. This sounds like an easy assignment, but it's not. Your desire to live in my presence goes against the grain of the world, the flesh, and the devil. Much of your weariness results from your constant battle against these opponents. However, you are on the path of my choosing. So don't give up, hope in me, for you will again praise me for the help of my presence. I love these. They get me through the day. I start my day with one of these, and like I say, we're going to give you one of these because I think you're just going to love it just the same as I do.
It also usually leads to a discussion. If you sit down and read this, you can talk about how it applies. And it's my pastor goes over this stuff with me. What does it mean, and I will restore your soul? Let's have communion, but what I would like you to do, I'm going to, many of you have this prayer, and it's called ACTS, Adoration, Confession, Thanksgiving, and Supplication or Request. It's just a little acronym to help you step through a prayer time with God. Adoration, Confession, Thanksgiving, and Supplication. And you know that all of us physically can put ourselves into an anxious state If we take short breaths out of our chest, it will raise your blood pressure, your heart rate, and everything else. You also have a physical switch where it's called the relaxation response. This is something that's created in you, and it's a straight physical aspect of your body. If you breathe slowly out of your belly, it lowers your blood pressure, slows down your heart rate, and just causes what's called a relaxation response. Now, those gentlemen who've had babies before, you know this because they teach you this in Lamaze. Yeah, if you haven't, your day will come. So, this is a straight. Now, what this has done, and I use this, so that, do you find your brain arguing with you when you're trying to talk to God? You're trying to have a conversation with God, and your brain's reminding you of your shopping list or 50 things. This is one of the things that I use so I can have reduce the background noise in my head and just talk to God. Let's stand together. I'm going to have the ushers come forward, and as they come, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. In this fellowship,